Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Sin and Tonic. Today's story is that of Saqib Hussain and Hussein Ijazuddin. Hold on to your hats guys because this one is unbelievable. Sin and Tonic! Hello, how are we all? Hope you're all well. I am very hot, so I've got a new fan. I've got this one that goes around your neck, look at it. Oh, it's got 3 settings. This is for if you're just like, well, just make your voice funny. Woo, woo, woo. Oh. Our story today takes us up north. So let's begin with Mahek Bukhari. She's 24 years old. She is a rising TikTok sensation. At the time of our story, she has 130,000 thereabouts TikTok followers, which is nothing to be sniffed at. It's all going so well for her that she actually ends up leaving university. And she is earning a living through brand deals and like sponsorships and things like that. Her mother, Ansreen Bukhari, she is often seen on her TikTok channel, and she describes her relationship with her mother as elite. Ansreen is 46, Mahek is 24, and they do seem to have a very close bond. And they also seem to be thoroughly enjoying this sort of rise to fame. I'm going to say fame. You can be famous, can't you? TikTok and YouTube and all sorts of things. So anyone can have a go now. Anyone can have a go. It goes to their head. They are loving it. I wouldn't use the word humble. Let's put it that way. And this may have something to do with what happens next, because Ansreen, who is married, she's been married to her husband for 20 years, thereabouts. She begins having an affair with a 21-year-old lad. This is Saqib Hussain. They met on a video app, and then quite quickly their relationship turned into a bit more. They started talking on the phone every single day, and then they started meeting up in person, going to restaurants, having dates, going to hotels and things like that. Regardless of her 20-year marriage, Mrs. Bukhari would continue this affair with Saqib for 3 years. That's quite a long time. 3 years. For Mrs. Bukhari, this was a bit of fun. For Saqib, well, he fell in love. He lavished her with gifts, with dates, with flowers, with attention. But in January of 2022, Mrs. Bukhari had had enough, and she decided to end their relationship. She said to Saqib that she had never ever intended on leaving her husband and that she just wanted to have fun. That was now over. Saqib wasn't about to let this all go without a fight, and he was distressed. He was obsessed with her, and lots of text messages, and she would ignore all of this. She was like, she was done. But he wasn't, and he really wanted. He was infatuated. He was in love. So Saqib said to her in anger that he had a sex tape on his phone, and that if she didn't talk to him, answer the phone, communicate with him, if she was going to end things, that he was going to send that sex tape to her husband and her son. So he had a bit of a lash out. At this point, Mrs. Bukhari confided in her daughter. So she didn't keep it from her, she kept it a secret from everybody else, but her daughter knew. And so they began hatching a plan. From the sounds of it, Mahek was, leave it with me, Mum. I'll sort it out for you. The plan that was settled on was that Mrs. Bukhari would give Saqib £3,000 in exchange for the video on his phone. I believe that number, £3,000, was agreed upon because he said that's how much he had spent over the years on their dates and what have you. Nevertheless, that's how much they decided. So she would give him £3,000. He would meet up with her and delete the video or the photos and the footage, whatever he had, off of his phone. That was the part of the plan that Saqib knew about. And the other side of it was that Mrs. Bukhari and Mahek would take 6 other people with them and ambush him when they met. So that was to ensure that he really truly did delete everything off of his phone. I call BS on that, because if they just show up and give him £3,000, he could just say, yeah, I've deleted it, and off he goes on his merry way, not show them the phone and whatever. Mahek was saying, well, if we have a group of us and we jump on him, we can take his phone and we can really make sure that he has deleted it. The thing with that is, how do you know that he hasn't emailed it to himself, or that it's on another device, or he hasn't shared it with somebody else? You are never going to know all of that. So it was a stupid plan, basically. Also, it would seem that Mahek was intent on roughing him up. In every version of every plan that she ever came up with, it involved him being beaten up and jumped on and hurt. In some versions, this was simply to scare him so that he would know exactly who he was dealing with, so that he would back off. And in other versions, it was to silence him. Well, that only means one thing to me. On the 11th of February 2022, this is when they arranged their meet, and they arranged to meet in a Tesco's car park in Leicester. Saqib would ask a friend, Hussain, to drive him to this Tesco and to go with him for the exchange. And Hussain said yes, and he would do this favour for his friend. Hussain was driving a Skoda Fabia, so he drives into the Tesco car park, and it is apparent that there is some dodginess going on. So they are suspicious, and they do not just stop and get out of the car. They sort of circle round, and eventually they end up leaving the car park. They're like, no, thank you. This is weird. Something else is going on. And they were right, obviously, because they were going to get jumped on. So off they trot. They leave the car park, swiftly followed by an Audi TT and a blue Seat Leon. Leon? What the heck? You know what I mean. And then ensues a high-speed chase. So the Skoda, with Hussain and Saqib, is being followed and chased by this Audi TT and this Seat Leon. And the speeds of this chase get up to like 90 to 100 miles an hour. So that is fast and really dangerous and very, very scary. Saqib is the passenger in the car. He makes a phone call to 999 to say, I'm being chased, and the people in the cars that are chasing me are wearing balaclavas. Okay, so wow, like this is just, it's like out of a movie. What the hell? Like he must have been terrified, and he was. We can't hear the 999 call because it wasn't made public, but they did play it in the courtroom, and he is terrified. He's begging for them to help him. He's saying that they're boxed in at one point, and then they must get free and go off, and then this chase goes on. And eventually they end up being ran off the road. They're like pushed off of the road by these two cars. What happens next is just horrifying, because their car goes off the road, it splits in two, and it goes into a tree, collides with a tree, and then is engulfed in a fireball. And both of the people in that car, Hussain and Saqib, they perish in this fire. Effectively, they were chased to their death in a high-speed chase by people wearing black balaclavas. So let's look at who was involved in this chase. In the lead up to the 11th of February, Mahek had enlisted the help of a friend who was a car mechanic, Rakan. Rakan then enlisted the help of his friend, Reyes Jamal, as well as Reyes's cousin, that's a mouthful, Amir Jamal, and other friends, Sanaf and Natasha and Mohammed Patel. This was because they wanted to intimidate and have a group of people to ambush Saqib. And some of these people were questionable characters. Reyes would serve time in prison for the R word. And it is thought that Reyes was the person driving the blue Seat at the time of the collision when they drove Saqib and Hussain off the road. And the Audi TT was driven by Rakan. It was also noted that Mahek and Ansreen were passengers of the Audi TT. Saqib and Hussain had arrived at Tesco car park at 1:17 in the morning, and at 1:30 in the morning, a recovery truck was driving past the crash site and realised that nobody had called the police or anything and blocked the road and then called for the police. It was only when the fire brigade arrived and they had put the fire out that the police saw that there were two bodies in the wreckage of the car. A little way up the road, the drivers of the Audi TT and the Seat Leon switched. So Mahek then drove the Audi TT and Natasha then drove the blue Seat Leon. And they turned around and they drove back past the accident on the other side of the road. Wow. They just drove on past and went back to Leicester. And then the next part is a bit odd, because what they do is they drive a little way and then they stop in a quiet cul-de-sac and they get out of their cars and they're all walking around. They're seen on like door cam and stuff like that, wandering about the streets in the early hours of the morning, just chatting away. So it's thought at that time what they're actually doing is like getting their story straight, like, right, let's chat this through, make sure that we're all on the same page. But I might add, they all seem remarkably chill and calm, considering that they have just murdered 2 people. The Bukharis head home to Stoke-on-Trent and Natasha heads home to Birmingham. They all go home. They all just go their separate ways. Of course, the police have had this phone call, this 999 phone call from Saqib, just heartbreaking phone call. And when they find the wreckage, they immediately put 2 and 2 together, and they then start looking at the CCTV footage of the cars, because they now know that this wasn't just a collision, like a hit and run. They know that something serious happened and that these people drove him off the road. So they look at the CCTV and then they see the number plates. I mean, yeah, wear balaclavas, but don't cover the number plates. Good one, thank God. So it's not long before Natasha's Seat Leon is, stopped, and she's in it. She's driving back to Birmingham, so they stop her in her car and she is swiftly arrested. Shortly after 8 a.m, I love that, because they've probably only had like a few hours sleep, and I like that. Mahek and her mother wake up to the sound of a policeman talking to her father and husband and brother downstairs. So they come trotting down. Interestingly, on her phone, she had a barrage of missed calls from Raiz, because he had had a phone call from Natasha just before she got pulled over by the police in a panic, saying, the police are pulling me over. So Raiz kind of knew that they were about to get found out. Yeah, found out. So he was trying desperately to ring Mahek, but she was having her beauty sleep, wasn't she? So she'd missed all of those calls, none the wiser to the policeman at the door. While her father and brother and mother are talking to the police in their front room, off she goes, Mahek. She sneaks off to ring Raiz back and find out what he knows, and then she texts her mum, who's in the front room with the police, to say, we're going to say this, to give her the download. This is what's going on, this is what we're going to say. They were later arrested, and then they had their interviews. Mahek's is, wow, like, honestly, that thing where they say if you're lying, you'll over-explain yourself. Is that English, Sophie? Yeah. So you'll be like, waffling on and giving details that you don't need to give. Whereas if someone is telling the truth, it's just, to the point, like, exactly just what you did, and there's no embellishment. Perhaps I do, though, sometimes think if you were nervous, like if I was nervous, I would probably talk too much and be like, blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. But they say that, don't they? But she, oh my gosh, she can't stop. She can't shut up. And it's almost comical to watch her just like, okay.
But it was blue, come straight down, no speed, nothing, normal on the right hand side. We were always on the left hand side. This right hand side car's come now, the Leon, the blue one, has come straight next to me and come right in front of me. Not very close. I've always said to myself, I'm a very good driver when it comes to this. I've been driving for 45 years. And I've said to myself, always keep a 2 to 3 second rule gap, always, when I've said to myself. Always done that. So this car's come not close. I've always braked. So I was doing 60, it was 70, I think it was 70 on the dual carriage, or 60. I was doing 50 straight away. Went back, went to 50 to 60, went back. This car didn't do anything to me. I don't know who, just a normal car going on the right to the left. The silver car, I don't know which brand it was, model. It's come zooming down. I've kept this 2 to 3 second rule gap, and the blue Leon's in front. I'm at the back. This silver car's come and cut into the middle, so we're basically all 3 cars very close. I braked and I said to my mum, what is this car trying to do? And my mum said, May, just keep your distance, everything's going to be okay. It's okay. Just a reckless, people just reckless because they know all the way down. If there's any cameras, there's going to be they must know there's no cameras. So they've gone all the way down. They've cut into my car. I've kept my distance. I braked. I think got to at least 40 because there was no cars behind me. Going to 40. This car was not threatening me, but agitating the blue car. So the blue car went onto the right lane, which is the overtaking lane, and the silver car went onto the right lane with the same car as the blue. So then the blue car went onto the left, and the silver car kept to the left, and it was just harassing. Like the blue car was trying to let you go, like go, you can go now because I'm letting you. But this silver car was not letting the blue car go. So I was thinking, okay, well, they're not agitating me, they're not trying to put me off my driving. I'm going on my left lane, I'm further away from these cars. So like I said, they were doing their own thing. I've gone past on the right lane now. The blue car's in front always, the silver car was behind. I've gone past and I've gone further away from this car on the left side, and then the blue car has caught up with me on the right side. I don't know who they are, I didn't even see the silver car as well. And the silver car, all I hear is like a you can hear like a bang, but not a big bang. It was like you hit behind me, basically. The silver car's hit the blue car at the back, like a touch, but you can tell the blue car has gone a bit faster. So I looked at my mum and I goes, Mum, what is going on? What is wrong with, are they, I don't know if they're drunk, what are they trying to do to this blue car in general?
The sentencing was on the 4th of August 2023, and it'd been an 18-month long wait. The jury also had deliberated for 28 hours. Earlier that very day, Mahek had been seen outside of the courtroom laughing, joking. I always find that it's cold, isn't it? Really? No remorse at all, just joking, laughing. However, the smile was wiped straight from her face during the sentencing when she found out that she would be receiving 31 years and 8 months minimum, and her mother would receive 26 years and 9 months minimum. Just going to read out the other sentences. So Rakan, he was jailed for life with minimum of 26 years and 10 months. Where do they get the months from? I don't know this. Reyes Jamal, he was jailed for life with a minimum term of 36 years and 45 days. I imagine that is because he was driving the car. He also has to serve 5 years on top for the unexpired portion of his R sentence. Then there is Natasha. So she will receive 11 years and 8 months for manslaughter. Amir Jamal, 28, he will receive 14 years and 8 months for manslaughter. And Sanaf will receive 14 years and 9 months in prison for manslaughter. They were all in the car. They were all complicit with what was going on. And Mohammed Patel, he will serve no sentence. All of the charges were dropped. And I believe that is because he spilt the tea. He was cleared of all charges and he told the police everything, the whole story. And most importantly, he told police that, crucial evidence, that Rakan and Raiz had a phone call during the chase. So they were both the drivers. They had a phone call during the chase to agree that they would ram them off the road. So that's intent. So he gave them quite a lot of information. There was a lot of evidence in the case because there was CCTV footage there, quite a lot of it. There was in all different areas as well. So the chase, the car park afterwards when they're walking around, and also phones, because everyone has a phone. So Saqib's phone was destroyed in the fire in the car, but you can get information from without having the physical phone, can't you? It's amazing. It's like proper CSI. But they got information from his phone and they could piece together. They got information from everyone's phone involved. And sneaky, but Mahek had given a false PIN, like the incorrect PIN for her phone to the police. So when they put this incorrect PIN in, it reset her phone to factory settings. What is this? So it lost loads of evidence basically off of her phone on purpose. That's mad, isn't it? And they could retrieve a lot of the information that they needed to from the cloud and stuff like that. So they got really techie with it, and they managed to piece together so many text messages, really incriminating things Did they really think they were going to get away with it? Like your number plate? Mm. You're using your vehicles. You've text people like outright saying, I want him silenced, I want this to happen, blah blah blah, on your mobile phone. Like they have not watched CSI or Criminal Minds at all, have they? I just find it mind blowing that she just thought she could talk her way out of it. And obviously her mum did as well. Like it blows my mind. And in that moment, because people, I read about the case and people were saying, well, that wasn't intended. They weren't intending to murder them and drive them off the road. They intended to ambush them at a car park because that's okay, and rough them up a little bit, get the phone, delete the things, and scare the living daylights out of them so, that they would go off into the abyss. Really? Maybe? She kept saying that she wanted him silenced and she gathered people together to do that. So did they really just mean to rough him up? I don't know. It seems like they were there to do more serious harm. But anyway, okay, the original intent wasn't to drive somebody off the road into an inferno. Granted, however, the testimony from Mohammed said otherwise, because in those moments when they were chasing them, in those moments, everybody in those cars was in agreement that they were all happy with that, it would seem. Especially the two drivers. The two drivers and Mahek and her mother were like, yeah, okay, let's do that. And you know what's going to happen. If you drive somebody off the road at 100 miles an hour, there is I don't even know what the chances are. Very high chance that those people are going to die. So, yeah, sure, they didn't mean it. No, but they changed their plan and they agreed upon that. So, yeah, I'm getting angry. The vein. And also, his friend, Hussain, had no idea what was going on. He as a favour, he was driving his friend to Leicester, to the car park. I don't know how much he knew. We will never know that, will we? Because we weren't in the car on the way driving to there. He might have, there might have been a conversation about what was going on a little bit. But he was an innocent party in that, completely. He had nothing to do with any of the what goings on. And he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that poor family lost their son, brother, cousin. Just honestly awful. It really affected them a lot. I read a lot of statements about, impact statements. Sorry, I'm very hot. It's very hot. And emotional. Same as last week, I got hot and emotional. And it just, I always think the same thing in 1 second. Those decisions are made, like pulling a trigger, pulling out a knife, or running someone off the road. It's just like that, and innocent people lose their life. Saqib did make a mistake, but he didn't deserve to die for it. Also, one last thought from me on this case is that the sentencing was on the higher end. Sometimes there are sentences and you think, really? That is light? Well, people were quite happy from what I read, the public have been quite happy that with the sentencing because it's been quite high, and also that was a bird, that was a loud bird. Also that it was quite high and it was 2 women and they weren't lenient on the fact that they were women, so people were happy with that. And yeah, but it's quite high sentencing, but 2 people died because of your actions. I just can't believe the mum, can't believe the mother, that she's just like, yeah, you do that, you sort that out for me. And then also to go along with them. Like, grow up, get a life. I don't know, I just, Anyway, hydration. That is all I have for you on today's case. Please let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Okay, I don't think there's anything to report. It's been crazy. The kids go back to school this week. Hallelujah. Love them. And I have really enjoyed the summer holiday, but the last week has just been a bit bonkers. I think it's because everyone knows that things are going to change and going back to school, and yeah, everyone goes crazy, and I just, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you because I am going to turn into a puddle. I'm going to turn the fan on, just see how loud it is on camera. Ready? Let's see. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is setting 1. Wait. This is setting 2. And then if it's gone mental and you just can't, this is setting 3. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay, thank you for joining me for another episode of Sin and Tonic. Hope you join me next week for another true crime story and a glass or a vase or a jar of gin. I will see you all next week. Love you, miss you, really want to kiss you. Bye.